Hi, my name's Dr. Nicole Ruggiano, and I'm the interim DSW Program Director here in the School of Social Work at the University of Alabama. Today I'm going to give you some information about our DSW program that will help you in making a decision whether you want to pursue a DSW and if the DSW program at the University of Alabama is the right program for you. So a question I get often from prospective applicants is a DSW degree right for me? So a little bit of background about the DSW degree. Originally this was the doctoral degree for social work, and it looked a lot more like a PhD program where people learn research skills to advance their knowledge about social work practice. Similar to other professions that have professional doctorates, more recently there's been questions raised about the need for a practice doctorate. The questions being that doctoral trained professionals tend to focus more on research, but what about some of the needs that we have for advanced trained practitioners? Today, social services are much more complex than they were previously. That there are also training needs in management and advanced community practice. So typically what we see is that somebody gets position as a clinician, does very good at that, and then they tend to be promoted as an administrator, but they haven't received any administrative training as part of their clinical MSW degree. So this is another reason why the DSW can provide support in advancing practice. Also the need for specialized services. So we are now serving as social workers more complex populations who have very complex needs. And so advanced training at the doctoral level for practitioners can help people develop those skills and knowledge needed to more specialize what they do. Typically, a DSW is for social workers who want to work much more independently. So I tend to compare this to nurse practitioners who work more independently like physicians compared to other types of nurses. They may want to further specialize practice, so whether or not you have clients with more complex needs, more specialized needs, or want to try different types of approaches of social work with new clients, then you can specialize your practice a lot more through DSW education. And also for those who want to become leaders in the field. So those who want to really make practice change to social work, to be change agents in the profession, that's where DSW education could also be helpful. So if you know you want to go for doctoral education, but not sure whether you want a DSW or a PhD, you can compare the two. So DSW degrees tend to focus on advanced skills in clinical practice. Almost all of them are in clinical practice. There are a few that do have administrative social work content or social work education, and you want to advance your skills as a social work educator. Also develop additional competencies in translating existing research into practice. So this whole idea of implementing what we learn in research into a practice setting. A lot of times we learn a lot in research about what new or modified interventions are effective with certain populations, but if they're not integrated into end populations, tend not to benefit from them. So in many cases, DSWs would teach you that component on how to put it into practice for everyday work. And also it prepares one to address more complex social work problems. So conversely, the PhD in social work degree tends to focus on developing skills and research methodologies and scholarly writing. It often prepares one to become an independent researcher who generates new and generalizable knowledge. So knowledge that can be used by other scholars in the field. So what are some examples of career trajectories? There are many different types of positions that are open for people with DSWs, whether it's a tenure track or another type of full-time faculty, management, executive leadership in nonprofit organizations, or even being a founder of your own nonprofit, public service leadership. You might need advanced training and skills to help further your goals in independent private practice, and also in social work higher education administration. So what is the DSW degree not? So it's not the terminal degree for social work. A lot of people ask me about CSWE and their relationship with the DSW program. CSWE has been very clear that the MSW will terminal degree for social work. And at this point, also, I get asked about accreditation. Currently, CSWE does not accredit any type of doctoral program, whether it's a PhD or DSW. So that's also something to think about. It's not a substitution for a social work license. So if you're not licensed, you cannot go get a DSW degree and then just practice in states where you do require a license. A license is typically linked to the social work practice, not necessarily your level of degree. And so if you require a license to do the type of work you want to do with a DSW, you would still have to get a license. It's not guaranteed that you will receive promotions or increase in pay. So one of the things, and I'm very transparent about this when I talk to prospective students, is that the social work profession has not necessarily carved out specific roles for people with DSWs. And so the idea that every organization and entity will value the DSW program the same way, there's no guarantee that it will increase your pay or get you certain positions. That being said, in talking to DSW program directors at other DSW programs, because we don't have any graduates at this time, we are just starting as a program, is that their graduates do report getting promotions, getting new types of positions. So that's something to consider, but it is anecdotal. So a little bit about me, since I am the director of the program, that my background is in urban affairs and public policy, and I have a social work degree from Temple. Most of my practice experience has been in macro practice, so I'm very experienced in program and policy develop and implementation and evaluation. I have more than 10 years of experience in doctoral education. Most of that has been with PhD students, but I have a lot of experience in helping doctoral level students to develop critical thinking about social work, help them conceptualize and develop and implement projects. And so I'm able to support the DSW students in the same way. My area of expertise is gerontology, health service research, also health information technology. But if you look at our website, we have faculty who have all kinds of different areas of specialty to accommodate what your area of interest might be if you decide to apply and enroll. So a little bit about our program. It's 3 years and 45 credits, and 3 years is fall, spring, and summer. Now, currently, the Bama by Distance, they are the ones who operate our online distance programming, and they set our tuition costs. And right now, based on the credit hour costs, the full 3 years of the program is just under $19,000. And that's for in-state and out-of-state. We have 2 tracks to select from, the advanced clinical track and the organizational leadership track. And typically, you will do 2 years of coursework, and that 3rd year you will engage in a capstone project. Every summer so this is a distance we have on-campus residencies where you would come to campus for a certain amount of days for in-person training and education. So what are some of the highlights of our program? So first is the organizational leadership track. Whereas many of the other DSW programs focus exclusively on clinical practice, we do offer organizational leadership. The online format of our program allows people to have more flexibility in obtaining their degree and also obtain their degree even if you are not a resident of the state of Alabama more easily. We have the DC Fly-In program as part of our School of Social Work, where we do training of students on a short-term basis in DC and teach you how to work with legislators. That's optional, but it's something available to the DSW program. And it's distinct from a traditional PhD program. So you don't have to do a full dissertation. There's no requirements for publishing, although we do encourage it. And so your focus isn't typically, your focus is not mostly on research methodologies. A little bit about our curriculum. So we have core courses that students take in their first year, and also research courses, teaching courses, and then your second year you focus more on your specialized courses and electives. We have a comprehensive paper that you have to pass in order to move into your capstone project, and you end up with your capstone project in year 3, which you need to successfully complete and pass in order to get your degree. So for your courses, it's a cohort model. So you're going to move through the courses with the people that you start with, and that really helps students in developing a good support system as they move forward. The courses in year 1 are essentially looking at advanced theoretical and practice understandings. But then in year 2, you can do more with developing advanced social work skills, integrating theory, research, and practice. And there are required courses, but there are also electives. And we also let you take electives in the other track if that's what you prefer to do. Many students are a little apprehensive about the research courses. So the research in clinical and community practice 1 and 2, the first level course, you're going to learn how to evaluate, doing a better job at reading existing research. So the way that I put this often is that many of you who are thinking about coming into our program have not looked at a research article in many years, but if you did, you might go through the introduction of the article and then skip to the discussion section. So through this class, you're going to be able to learn and evaluate the methods section and the results section a lot better on your own. For the second level class, you're going to continue to learn to evaluate research findings, but you're going to learn how to integrate research findings into practice-based decisions. You're going to learn how to develop your own evaluation and research methodologies for questions you have about social work, and also do a better job at interpreting findings and statistical findings in what you're reading. These are supplemented by the residency workshops, where you're going to get some more hands-on training in research and evaluation techniques. These residencies will also help support you in writing your final paper and also to complete your capstone assignment. So the goal basically at this point is to develop skills and competencies for evidence-based practice change. You'll have a teaching course, and you'll also have some concepts to help facilitate that as well. The course will help with teaching social work education, and there are electives in other Bama by Distance programs focused on teaching and pedagogy that you could take if social work education is specifically where you want to continue your career after the program. So these residencies, there's one in each June of your first 2 years. So the first one will be 4 days and the second one 5. And you would come to campus. They're mandatory for graduation, but you get a lot of hands-on content and you're able to meet with faculty. You get support for your paper and your capstone. You get supplemental in-person instruction to what you're getting online. But it isn't part of the regular tuition, so you would have to arrange your own travel. And so those costs and the travel arrangements, although we do live in trying to help students with arranging or making decisions about their travel arrangements. So practice change is a real large focus of our program. So students, you have to identify an issue or challenge in the social work field. We require that you do this in your application, so we know that you're thinking critically about social work. And so you're focused on identifying and critiquing existing research related to this challenge, and also use that research to critically think about and develop a social work intervention for that issue. So you're going to develop or design an intervention that integrates research findings, prior research findings, and also theory, and that's going to be the basis of your capstone. And you'd have to complete your comp paper by the end of year 2. So this is something that's going to help you move forward with your capstone project. And we encourage students to publish, and we have support in place to help you with publishing whether it's your comp paper or papers that you write as part of your coursework. Now the Capstone Project, so this is going to be students who identify a problem in social work, design the intervention that I mentioned in the paper slide, and implement this intervention and evaluate it. So it could involve qualitative or quantitative data collection, and as opposed to a dissertation, your final output's going to be a paper that's about maybe 20 to 30 pages long rather than a much longer dissertation. You can also opt to publish or present your work in academic outlets. So looking at the 3 years for our program, and just a summary, so year 1, core courses, research courses, and your 4-day residency in June. They'll always take place within the first 2 weeks of June. Year 2, specialized courses, comp paper, and your residency in June, and you take a prep course for your Capstone Project. Year 3, you complete your Capstone Project. Students also who want to take other classes that are related to their content area are more than welcome to do that. But you have to come back to campus to do a presentation of your Capstone Project. So a little bit about our admissions criteria, and this is what I get the most questions about. So you do need an MSW degree from a program that is CSWE accredited, especially at the time that you graduated. So this is not negotiable. I get so many emails and telephone calls saying, well, I have a degree in this topic or in this topic, and it's related, but we will not have an MSW degree from an accredited institution. Also non-negotiable, a minimum of 3 years of post-MSW experience. So one of the most common challenges I get to this is I just recently graduated my MSW, but I had 20 years of social work experience after my BSW. We require 3 years of post-MSW experience because that's the minimum amount of time we believe you need experience to start thinking much more critically about social work. You need letters from 3 references. At least 2 have to be professional. 1 can be a former professor. All 3 can be professional, which is helpful for those who may not have been in school for quite some time. And also a statement of purpose. So this is going to be, and we have instructions for the statement of purpose on the DSW program website if you go to the School of Social Work website, which is socialwork.ua.edu. We require a resume. If you are a foreign language speaker, you would also need the TOEFL score. And if deemed appropriate or needed to clarify anything in your application, there could be an interview with the DSW faculty member. You do not need a GRE score. And you only need a social work license if the type of work you are doing in social work at the time of enrollment requires one. And that's an important thing that I didn't go over in the last slide. We do not have field placements for DSW students. So you would need to have either through paid employment or through volunteerism, some sort of social work setting where you can apply your coursework and or also apply do your capstone project in. Without that, you are not eligible for the program, but you only need a license if you need a license to do work in that placement. A little bit more about the statement of purpose. I mean, some of the things that we ask is just about your experience, why you want to obtain a DSW, how is it going to change your career and social work practice, what would you like to address in the field, and which track are you interested in applying to. A much more detailed version of the instructions can be found in the DSW website on the School of Social Work website, and it also of what the DSW Program Committee looks for when they're reading those statements of purpose. Oh, so I was ahead of myself. I forgot I had a separate slide for this. So yes, you need a social work placement, and whether it's paid or volunteer, this is where you can apply your concepts, serve as a basis for your exam paper, and to do your capstone. So students are required to attend the in-person orientation. At this point, we have not pinpointed which date this is going to be in August, but most likely it will be a Friday. or Monday in August. And so please keep checking back with our website to see when we schedule that. And that's the basics of our DSW program. If you have additional questions, feel free to email me or to call me. The way is, if you really want to make big changes to how social work currently addresses health and human service problems, a DSW degree might be right for you. It's also important to remember that a DSW program is not an easier version of a PhD program. They are different types of programs. So if you're torn between a DSW and a PhD, think about what your goals are in applying. And we also have on the School of Social Work DSW page an FAQ page, and that'll answer maybe more questions that you have. So please check that out if you do have additional questions. But if your questions can't be answered there, please feel free to reach out and learn more about our program. And I look forward to getting your application if you decide to apply. And again, my name is Dr. Nicole Ruggiano, and I'm available to talk to prospective candidates who are interested in applying. Have a nice